Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall for the group phase, Jamaica versus Bahamas here in Georgetown, Guyana, in the FIBA Caribbean Women's Championship 2025. Today, early in the day, we saw Suriname lose to the Virgin Islands, 33-84, and now we're here for a primetime matchup, Jamaica versus the Bahamas. Looking at the group standings, Virgin Islands on top with 2 wins and 2. Bahamas and Guyana with 1 win apiece. Suriname with 3 losses. And Jamaica with 1 win, playing their second game tonight. I'm here accompanied by Keon Blades. The teams are being welcomed.
So first we'll start with the Bahamas. There, bench tonight, Michaela Chaka, number 1. Kayla King, number 2. Lindsay Dimitri, number 3. Latoya Lowe, number 4. Mary, number 69, number 4. 7. Latifia Bryant, number 9. Michelle Butler, number 10. Number 11. Miranda Wilburst, number 12. Lataya Lockhart, number 13. Holly Masby, number 15. Lashonda Denny. For Jamaica, number 3, Jessica Fairweather. Number 6, Carissa Robinson. Number 7, Candace Coleman. Number 8, Sasha Dixon. Number 9, Kari K. Stevenson.
This side and the post.
Dion
This side is yours, eh?
Tiffany Reynolds. Number 12, Danielle Johnson. Number 13,
He can tell you which one. He can.
Number 17, Christina Bryan, and number 18, Izia Martin. Coaches representing Bahamas, Kulma Danielo, and their assistant coach, Joanna Burrows. For Team Jamaica, O'Neill Brown, and assistant coach, Niran Hurd. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, please stand as we hear the anthem of the Bahamas.
Now for the national anthem of Jamaica.
And now for the national anthem of Jamaica.
All right, so here we have the teams greeting at center court.
This one is slated to be a very excited one. Bahamas coming off of a win in their second game, and Jamaica winning their first game by a big margin.
Yeah, here we're seeing the match officials on screen today. Yuliris Guzman from Puerto Rico, Brooke Briscoe from Canada, and Jose Antonio de Maria from Panama. I have to say the officials have been quite good and quite consistent throughout the tournament so
Yes.
far, so I'm hoping to see a lot more of that from them tonight.
Most of the calls have been very good calls, and let's hope they do the same tonight.
Yeah, and I think you just mentioned the Bahamas having a bounce back win, and then Jamaica having a pretty commanding victory in their first game. So ahead of the game tonight, what are you thinking about?
I think Nesbitt from Bahamas need to have a very big game tonight. We see how Jamaica play in their first game. They're a very dominant team, both on the defensive and offensive end. So as we see the team from Bahamas, the starting five.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Nesbitt and Higgs are going to be huge for the Bahamas. They are the two leaders, offensive leaders for the team. And without them, well, Bahamas' offense has been quite limited. So certainly the team's going to be relying on them tonight as they have in the first two games.
Yes, and for Jamaica, we can see Jessica Fairweather and Sasha Dixon. These two players are players to look out for in this match. They dominated the first game that Jamaica played. And so these are two players to look out for.
Yeah, I think in the first game we saw the Jamaican coach, well, as we see the Jamaican starting lineup here, Jessica Fairweather, Sasha Dixon, Tiffany Reynolds, Danielle Johnson, and Christina Bryan. And yeah, you mentioned Jessica Fairweather and Sasha Dixon as players to watch. And in the first game, indeed, them along with Tiffany Reynolds pretty much carried the Jamaican offense and defensive effort. If you look at Sasha Dixon, she chipped in on both sides of the ball, but primarily on offense with 12 points and 8 assists, 3 rebounds, and a game-high 4 steals. We saw Jessica Fairweather with 15 points and 4 assists, but I think it's important to note she scored those 15 in just 20 minutes of game time.
Yeah.
The coach rested her for half the game.
Most of the scoring was done in the first quarter.
Correct. And I have to say that energy management is huge for all the teams throughout this tournament. You're going to be playing back-to-back games.
Definitely.
Not necessarily getting a lot of rest. So this is where the coaching comes into play, being able to effectively manage your personnel to put good results out, but also manage the energy and give your players the best opportunity to perform in crucial games like this one. For the Bahamas, a win here would mean putting them in really good position for qualification, and the same for Jamaica. Jamaica actually would be putting themselves in a great position after just 2 games. This being the Bahamas' third game, a win here is, I'd say, much more important for them.
It's very crucial for Bahamas to get a win here. They're coming off a bit of energy from their second game, after winning their second game against Suriname. So you should look forward to a very exciting game, a high-energy game. They seem to look confident. Let's see how they play tonight.
Yeah, I expect them to play well tonight. However, there are some things that the Bahamian team needs to pay attention to. I think in the last game, although they won, their field goal percentage is something they really need to watch. They were not as efficient as I think they should have been given the circumstances. They're shooting 33% from 3 for the tournament so far, 41.5% from the field, which their general field goal percentage is actually slightly worse than Jamaica's, which is at 45%. Granted, again, Jamaica has only played 1 game. What the Bahamian team can take into consideration, however, is that they average in only 19 turnovers per game, despite having, as what we would describe, just 2 primary scorers. They've been taking care of the basketball, which has put them in a good position. So if they're able to get their offense settled and Higgs and Nesbitt into the game and maintain that composure and taking care of the basketball, I think we could see the Bahamians putting up a really good fight tonight and potentially taking home their second and very important win.
So it's almost game time here at the National Sports Hall down here in Guyana.
Yeah, we see the players preparing for the tip. Reynolds of Jamaica and Braynon of Bahamas. Braynon wins the tip, but pushes it straight to Brian of
So we see our
Jamaica.
first turnover for the game here in the early seconds of the game.
Yeah, early seconds turnover for Jamaica, and turnovers are something the Jamaicans need to watch. They had 27 in their first game. That was against the lowest ranked team in the, no, sorry, not lowest ranked, but lowest on the leaderboard, Suriname.
Suriname.
So 27 turnovers is something they really need to watch, because we saw the Bahamians profit on turnovers on both of their first two games.
Yeah, on the fast break, the Bahamians seems to be very good on the fast break. As a both possession for Bahamas and for Jamaica.
Ended in turnovers. Yeah. All right, here we see Fairweather bringing the basketball up the center of the floor. She passes it across the court to number 8. In the corner, first points, first blood goes to Jamaica. That bucket.
Nesbitt with a jumper. That's off.
Nesbitt with a tough jumper. The ball recovered by Butler. Butler recovers. Braynon is unable to finish. Ball rebounded, and Fairweather brings it up again, the center of the court. Dixon passes back to Fairweather in the corner. Fairweather inside to Brian. Brian lets it go immediately, but doesn't score. Ball corralled by Nesbitt. Nesbitt up the floor to number 3, Demerit. Demerit puts the ball up and scores.
That's a good jumper. That's
Yeah.
2 points.
Excellent jumper by Demerit. I did mention Demerit emerging at the end of the first game and in the second game, and here we see her scoring the first points for the Bahamas. We also see on the fast break Bahamas profiting. Jamaica unable to finish, and Bahamas taking full advantage. Here's Fairweather with an easy swish 3. Looks like she wasn't under pressure at all, although the defender was right in front of her.
Yeah, just continuing from where she started in the first game.
Inside to Butler. Butler takes the long 2, bricks it out. Ball recovered by Brian. Brian to Reynolds. Reynolds takes it up the right wing. Attacks the center of the floor. Passes in to the number 12.
That's a good pass.
Yeah, beautiful pass into the number 12, Danielle Johnson. Johnson goes up, draws the foul, and gets a trip to the line for 2 free throws. Early in the game, we can see there is somewhat of a high tempo. Both teams looking to profit on the fast break.
As expected in this game.
Yeah, I do expect the Jamaicans especially to target the fast break. They're the freshest team in the tournament. They've only played 1 game so far. And this being their second game after getting a rest yesterday, I think they'd be looking to try to impose themselves with higher energy levels. Johnson fails to make both free throws. A block under the rim.
Good
Brian,
defending by Butler.
yeah, Butler blocks Brian. Nesbitt brings it up center court. Nice pass inside to Demerit. Demerit is fouled from behind by Dixon.
That's a beautiful pass from Nesbitt.
Yeah, lovely
From the
pass
top
from
of the
Nesbitt.
key.
Yeah. It looks almost like a fake shot, but she drops it inside to the open Demerit. Demerit gets a trip to the line. Now, I love the defensive effort from Dixon. We saw it from her in the first game. However, she has to be careful on plays like that, especially as a recovering defender. When you're jumping to contest the shot as a recovering defender, you're bringing momentum with you, and it's always gonna lead to fouls if you don't, really pay attention to where your feet are, getting your feet set before jumping to contest.
Definitely.
Fairweather attempts a full court pass, picked
That's
off
steal
by Nesbitt.
Nesbitt looking to drive straight to the ring. Good pass.
Good pass into the Demerit. Demerit gets another
Demerit.
floater. Loving the fact that the Bahamians are getting other players involved. I did mention they should have gotten Demerit involved more in the first 2 games. There they do
Again, we
again.
see a steal.
We see a steal
Up
by
towards
Demerit.
Nesbitt. Nesbitt for an easy layup for 2.
Demerit and Nesbitt leading the charge for the Bahamians in this first quarter.
Fast-paced game so far.
Yeah,
Ball up to Fairweather. Fairweather with a long 3.
and
That's
scores.
nothing but net. Seems to be a very high energy game so far.
Yes, very high energy. Both teams looking to score as quickly as possible. I wonder how long this can be kept up. Long three by Higgs, falls short. Picked off by Higgs. Higgs goes up for the 2, gets the easy
That's
2
a
over
strong
Fairweather.
finish from Higgs. Strong finish.
I think here we see the Jamaicans' turnover woes continuing very early in this game.
Yes.
Fairweather, although she's been a critical player, she's guilty for 2 of them very early on. And those
Sasha
2
Dixon dished out to Fairweather. Good fake.
into Brian. Brian gets it in and out, recovered by Nisbet. Nisbet up the floor to Higgs. Higgs with a beautiful bounce in
The
stride.
Bahamians are pushing the steam in this one.
Forces
They're
the Jamaican
beating
coach to call a
Jamaica on the
timeout.
fast break points.
Yeah, forces the Jamaican coach to call a timeout. The score is 12-8 to the Bahamas. You're right, they're pushing the envelope. And what I'm loving is the off-the-ball movement.
Yeah.
We commented in the first 2 games that the Bahamian team needed more off-the-ball movement. They have more than enough quality in multiple positions on the floor. Off-the-ball movement will allow them to get more players into the game, and we're seeing very early in this this first quarter that off-the-ball movement, especially on the fast break, creating lots of opportunities. We've seen great movement from Higgs, great movement from Demerit. I also think some credit has to be given to Brainen and Butler because they've been very active on the offensive and defensive glass early.
Definitely. And Nesbitt bringing the ball up the floor with some beautiful passes so far in this game.
Yeah, we saw her last night overcooking a lot of those full court passes. Tonight, however, we're seeing exactly what's possible when her passes are keyed in.
She's on point.
Yeah, that almost full court pass to Higgs in stride. My
Beautiful
goodness.
pass.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
So the Jamaica have the work cut out for them tonight.
Yeah, Jamaica definitely has their work cut out for them. I think they were not expecting this much energy from a Bahamian team whose legs should be a little bit more gassed. And the coach, I think, had to call time to help them regroup and get their heads back in the game. Let's see what adjustments Jamaica makes after that timeout. Here we see Fairweather bringing the ball up center court, calling for a pick on at the top. Dixon receives the ball on the wing, drives, kicks it to Brian. Brian kicks it to... Brian receives the ball back at the top, inside. 3 for the Jamaicans.
That's beautiful ball movement there from the Jamaica team. Finding the open shooter.
Here we see the Nesbitt bringing the ball up the floor. Nice spin move, jumper. I think that jumper got tipped.
Dixon with a long pass.
Corner 3 is short, recovered by Brainen, straight to a Jamaican player. That's a foul.
That's a beautiful play there from the Jamaica team.
Yeah, I think that was number 6 of Jamaica, Carissa Robinson, stealing the ball from Brainen, who tried to tip it back inside. She kicked it immediately. Yep.
To Brian.
Yep, kicked it immediately to Brian, who went up for the 2. There we see her getting hit on the head on the replay for that foul.
Converting a 3-point play there, Brian.
Yep, restoring Jamaica's lead. Higgs drives past Dixon, but Dixon gets the steal. We're seeing Dixon on the defensive end early again in this game. Dixon drives, loses control of the ball, passes into Brian. Brian gets
Brian
the 2.
with another 2-point. So the Jamaica team
coming back strong out of the
very
timeout.
strong after the timeout.
Long 3 by Higgs. Higgs comes up short, recovered by Robinson. Robinson passes to Fairweather. Fairweather takes it up center court. You see the Jamaican team looking to spread the floor here. 3
That's
by
Dixon
Dixon.
with a long 3.
I think what we're noticing here early in this first quarter between the two teams, the ability to score from multiple players. And I'm not just talking inside scoring, but also outside scoring. Here we see an offensive foul called on Nesbitt for a push-off. There's clearly some exaggeration of that contact by Robinson, but
Definitely.
But nonetheless, anytime you put 2 hands on a player and push, if the ref sees it, he's going to call it.
Definitely contact there. As we see Bahamas forced to call their first timeout.
Yes, Bahamas forced to call their timeout. I think out of the timeout, we saw an 11-point run by the Jamaicans.
They haven't scored since after that first timeout, the Bahamians.
They haven't scored since that first timeout. So the Bahamians definitely need to recover, take some time to rethink the game plan.
Responding strongly.
I think I'll have to see a bit more of the game to complete my assessment, but what I've noticed from the Jamaicans, they've been spacing the floor. That floor spacing has thrown off the Bahamian defense a bit. That's because I think in both of the first two games, something we've commented on routinely was the defensive effort from Nesbitt and Higgs. I think very often, both on the fast break and in the half court, Nesbitt and Higgs have been somewhat switched off or disengaged on that defensive end. And if they're like that, the Bahamian defense has cracks, allowing opportunities on the perimeter for the Jamaican team. And here we see
shots.
Yep. And here we see Fairweather, Dixon, and Reynolds, I believe. Reynolds and Robinson
yeah.
willing to take shots if they're open.
Good movement of the ball in that piece of play there earlier from Jamaica too.
Yeah, they're playing tic-tac-toe so quickly sometimes I can't even call the player names in time. The ball goes into Brian, outside to the number 8, Dixon. Dixon sees Johnson open on the inside. Johnson doesn't manage to control the ball, passes out to Robinson. Robinson drives, kicks to Fairweather in the left corner. Fairweather shoots the 3, doesn't get it to drop. Nesbitt gets the rebound, tries to pass up the court quickly to Higgs, but the ball is picked off by Dixon. Dixon with another steal early in this game.
As we see the quick ball moving from Jamaica again.
Good rebound by Butler. Butler drives around Brian, tries to pass to Higgs, tipped by Fairweather, but recovered by Demerit, recovered by Demerit. Demerit inside to Neely. Neely down low. Neely finds Butler on the elbow. Beautiful elbow jumper by Butler in motion.
And they need to get as much play involved in this game if they want to give this game a fight against Jamaica.
Yeah, and so far we're seeing the scoring distributed. Ooh, Fairweather misses the drive. She beat Butler, had her on her hip, but just couldn't complete the finish. Here we see Nesbitt against Robinson in the corner. Screen set by Neely. Nesbitt decides to put up the 3, swishes it.
Nothing but net from Nesbitt.
What a great move by Nesbitt. 2 defenders on her. Doesn't matter. Hand
a
up.
bit of dribbling and then swish for the shot.
Yep. Here we see Dixon. Dixon driving against Nesbitt. Good defense from Nesbitt, keeping her, preventing the drive. Robinson drives on Nesbitt. Travel by Robinson. Beautiful
good
defense
hands there from the Bahamian defense.
Yep, great hands by Nesbitt. We just spoke about her defensive effort, and I think she's locked in. She's getting into the pace of the game.
One of the better two-way players in this tournament so far, both on the defensive and offensive end.
Yeah, here we see Forbes checking into the game. And that's why I spoke about the defensive effort from Higgs and Nesbitt, because they clearly have shown the ability to defend at a high level one-on-one. So they need to do that for the entirety of the game if they want to see results. Beautiful catch by Nesbitt.
With a
Flexing.
bit of power there.
Flexing on
Robinson.
Yep. Fairweather to Robinson. Robinson drives on Nesbitt, trying to get some revenge probably. Here we see Fairweather going down low, followed by Nesbitt. Reynolds dribbling in the corner, loses the ball, recovered by Fairweather, passes around to Robinson. Beautiful defensive. Good hands from Forbes, that is. Forbes checked into the game for Butler. Higgs drives, goes up, recovers her own rebound, gets blocked from behind by Brian. Brian passes out to Fairweather, who kicks it to Reynolds to take the ball up the floor. Forbes following drive by.
Good pass. That's a beautiful pass from Robinson to find Sasha Dixon.
Yeah, beautiful pass from Robinson to find Dixon. There you see, if you beat the press, there's going to be opportunities. There are 2 players open there under the rim. And good ball movement by the Jamaicans.
Easy layup for Sasha Dixon.
Demerit in the corner to Nesbitt. Nesbitt back up top to Demerit for the long 2. Comes up short. Recovered by Reynolds. Reynolds to Dixon. Dixon brings the ball up the floor.
Fairweather looks to post up. Good ball in from Sasha.
Nice pass inside by Dixon. Scored by Brian. Scored by Brian. Excellent use of the body by Brian to keep the defender on her hip, giving her the space to make that finish immediately after the catch. Screen set by Neely on Dixon. Passes to Higgs in the corner. Higgs with an open corner 3. Doesn't score, but
a bit of pushing there.
Offensive foul by Demerit under the rim.
Yeah.
There we see Fairweather selling the contact, but once again, 2 hands on a play on a push. The ref is going to call it every time.
Good call by the ref.
Follow us on social media at FIBA and share your photos.
Here we see Roll checking into the game. Demerit checks out. Yeah, we just saw the replay of the foul there. Two-handed push by Demerit on Fairweather. Crafty by Fairweather to sell the contact, but again, Demerit needs to have a little bit more awareness. All right, ball being brought up the court by Jamaica's number 6, Robinson. Ball inside to Brian. That's a clear travel.
Too many steps there.
I'm sorry, that's not Brian, that's Cowan. Clear travel by Cowan after the catch. She just put her head down and started to walk. Higgs brings the ball beyond half court, drives past Dixon. Dixon with active hands, passes into Forbes. Forbes with the 2, doesn't get it to go. Recovered by Roll. Roll misses, recovered by Wild Goose, who gets the putback for 2.
As we see the foul call there. And it's going to remain Jamaica ball. Ball's going to be inbound there by Ronalds. That's a good steal there from Bahamas as he look to drive. Good block there, but first recover and scoring the 2-point under the rim. Ronalds straight to the ring, but she misses. And that's going to be the end of the first quarter. A pretty exciting one. Just a 1-point difference between the two teams. As we see Bahamas, the scores are actually level 23, sorry. A pretty exciting first quarter. Good offense on both ends.
Yeah, we see good offense from both teams. Scores level at the end of the first quarter, and I think it's reflective of the effort displayed by both teams. Both teams definitely have the quality. I love the fact that the Bahamians have made the adjustments after the first 2 games, and they're spreading the scoring.
Yeah,
we're seeing lots more players getting touches and getting involved in the game.
Definitely. Players that we didn't see get involved in the first 2 games is definitely getting on the ball tonight, scoring points. So that's a good look for the Bahamians in the first quarter.
Yeah, if they're able to keep that up and maintain the defensive effort, I think they're going to be in this game all the way to the end. As a matter of fact, if they're able to take care of the ball, we're seeing it fairly early on that although Jamaica has good intensity and good quality, they can be a bit reckless with the basketball.
Yeah, we could hurt them a bit. Especially at the fast pace this game is playing. And Bahamians looking to convert on their tries a lot.
Yeah, very early on. I mean, if we look at the box score, we'll see after the first period, already 8 turnovers for Jamaica. And if you compare that to the Bahamians only have 3 turnovers after the first quarter. That's a massive difference. And if you extend that over the game, if it continues in the team's play to their averages so far, the Bahamians are going to have a very big opportunity. They cannot afford to miss a lot of the chances of turnovers like they did last night.
That's the point I was going to make, that you need to convert on these turnovers, because we could still see after the first quarter with Jamaica with so many turnovers, the game is still pretty much even.
Exactly. So, although the opportunities will be presented, you're right, they have to capitalize. Here we see Higgs and Nesbitt. The Jamaicans pressing Higgs and Nesbitt very high. Higgs drives, loses the ball in the paint, but she's fouled. Is that another foul on Brian? Not sure who the foul was on. Nonetheless, it's a trip to the line for Higgs. Yeah, looks like the foul is on Brian. See the replay there. Strong free throw. Bricks on the back iron from Higgs. She has a second chance to restore a lead for the Bahamians. Swishes the second, giving Bahamas a lead. 24-23 Bahamas. Here we see a full court press by the Bahamians. Attempting to force a turnover, but great ball
Robinson
movement.
with a jumper. Nothing but net there for Robinson.
We see the Bahamians attempting a full court press to force a turnover, but it leads to an easy jumper in the paint for the Jamaicans. Nesbitt drives, puts it up, but shot doesn't go. We see Forbes active on the offensive glass.
Robinson with a strong drive there as she gets the foul.
She gets the foul. I have to comment on the finish, though. That finish was a very intelligent finish by
Yes, it was.
by Robinson. It didn't go, but it showed great. She showed great dexterity, off balance, putting the ball up and putting that much spin on the ball.
Strong drive between those two defenders there. She earned herself a trip to the line.
Two players checking in for the Bahamians. We have number 7 Brainan and number 9 Butler checking back into the game for Forbes and Roll.
Robinson hit her first free throw there.
Missed the second free throw, recovered by Butler. Butler to Nesbitt. Nesbitt being pressed full court by Reynolds. Foul on Reynolds. Offensive foul.
Wow.
Offensive foul committed against Reynolds by Nesbitt. I think Nesbitt is going to have to be careful. That's her second offensive foul.
Yes.
And offensive fouls are the worst to give away because they limit your ability to give effort on defense. Loose pass, but recovered by Bryan. Bryan to Robinson. Robinson inside.
And that's a foul. I think he's on.
That foul may be on Wild Goose.
Or is it Butler?
Let's see if we can get a replay of that last play. But it's a foul on the floor, so the ball is going to be inbounded by Jamaica. We see Jamaica trying to take advantage of their size down low. Bryan outside. Bryan for 3.
That's way off.
Way off by Bryan. Full court press employed by the Jamaicans, trying to limit the freedom of Nesbitt and Higgs. Nesbitt drives quickly past Robinson. Jamaica settles into their half-court defense, which looks like a 2-3 zone. Higgs pulls up.
Ball up.
She draws the foul on Reynolds.
Smart play from Higgs there.
Yeah,
Seeing the clock winding down and draw some contact ahead on a trip to the line.
Good sportsmanship shown there by Reynolds after committing the foul, admitting fault and helping Higgs to her feet. Another trip to the line for Higgs. So far, Higgs being the one drawing the most fouls
Very
for
aggressive.
the Bahamians. Yes, very aggressive effort from Higgs. I like the fact that she's driving to the lane, penetrating, and also getting her teammates involved. But just like the previous trip, she went 1 for 2 at the free throw line. Jamaica recovers and comes right back at the Bahamians. Reynolds into Fairweather. Fairweather back to Reynolds in the corner. Reynolds drives along the baseline but doesn't get her floater to drop. Nesbitt passes up court. Recovered by Higgs.
Nesbitt seems to be looking for these up-court passes
Yes,
on
and
every play as Higgs pull up for a 3. That's nothing but net from Higgs. Higgs seemed to be turning the heat up in this one, in the second quarter.
Higgs actually is the team leader in scoring, averaging 29 points over the first 2 games. So it's not surprising to see Higgs having a hot hand early in the game. Good pressure by Higgs on Reynolds. Reynolds drives, kicks it to Brian. Brian swings it to
Robinson.
Robinson.
Good
Robinson with a
spin,
good
jumper.
spin and turn, jumps, but
that's off.
yeah, there's a power failure by Robinson on that jumper there.
Good
Kicks in the
pass.
corner to Demerit. Demerit takes the one dribble and scores the easy jumper.
Beautiful look from Nesbitt there. Seeing Demerit wide open.
Yeah, great vision by Nesbitt to see Demerit. I think the Jamaican zone wasn't set, and Demerit found herself in a pocket of space unmarked. Big pass inside to the number 11. Reynolds can't finish, however. Higgs between the legs to Nesbitt. Nesbitt back to Higgs. Higgs with the long two.
That's
and
a beautiful
scores.
play.
Beautiful play by
Good 1-2 pass between Nesbitt and Higgs.
timeout by the Jamaican coach.
The Bahamian seems to be red hot tonight.
Yes, I'm loving the ball movement from both teams, actually. We're seeing very intelligent passing by both the Bahamians and the Jamaicans, finding the open player, swinging the ball to move the defense around, and then penetrating when they get the opportunity. And then, of course, it's not only taking shots when they have good opportunities, but also making the shots. And right now, the Bahamians are the ones making those tough shots.
Yeah, we said early in the first quarter, converting those turnovers and the free throws would lead to them extending the lead, and we see them doing this in the second quarter so far. Nesbitt and Higgs has been very dominant on the floor. Higgs leading the charge.
Yeah, Higgs leading the charge, and like I mentioned with the defensive effort, as soon as Higgs and Nesbitt turned up on the defensive end, you see the difference. Now, we're seeing good defense from the team overall, but I think when your star players or your top players, are showing great defensive effort, it inspires the entire team.
Definitely do.
Right now, the Jamaicans are going to have to figure something out with that zone defense, because the Bahamians are finding lots of opportunities to take shots in the spaces. And unfortunately, the defense is not adjusting. They're not moving across quickly enough.
What we've been seeing too is that Nesbitt is looking to push the ball up the court very fast. Not allowing the Jamaican defense to set their feet.
Yep, they're not allowing the Jamaican defense to set their feet. And again, something we've been mentioning the entire tournament, off-the-ball movement. The off-the-ball movement by the Bahamians have been excellent. Credit to Demerit and Butler, as well as Brannon, for the off-the-ball movement. Here we see the ball kick to Fairweather on the right side, inside to the number 11, Reynolds. Brian calling for it inside. Brian dribbles, goes to the other side of the rim, doesn't get the finish. Recovered by Nesbitt. Nesbitt to Higgs on the right wing. Higgs drives up the floor, kicks it back out to Nesbitt. Nesbitt settles the team down, calls the play. Strong pressure by Robinson on Nesbitt at the top. Nesbitt drives, kicks in the corner to Demerit. Demerit fakes, kicks out to Nesbitt. Nesbitt pulls for three and swishes. Beautiful shot by Nesbitt. Beautiful possession by the Bahamian team.
Again, the off-the-ball movement by the Bahamian team.
And there we see Demerit again, finding herself in a pocket of space, easing the pressure on Nesbitt.
With the answer.
Yes, Dixon with the answer. I think the Bahamian defense, although they were settled, they seemed a bit slow to react to the movement there by the Jamaicans.
Yeah, wide open shot for Dixon.
Nesbitt gets the pick from Brannon, kicks in the corner to Demerit. Demerit fakes, beats Fairweather, but Fairweather recovers and tips the ball. The ball goes to Nesbitt. Nesbitt gets the pass in. Butler with a nice bounce.
What a move.
Beautiful move by Butler.
A fake and a drive straight to the ring.
And here we see ball movement again, finding Butler. Butler with the intelligent play, composure, takes the dribble, gets the move inside. Fairweather in the corner to Reynolds. Ball tipped, but it goes to Brian, who makes a great inside pass to Reynolds for the two.
This game has turned out to be a good one so far.
This is a boxing match. This is fighting in a phone booth. You swing, I swing. I'm loving it right now. Yep, I'm loving it right now. Higgs pressed by Reynolds. Beats Reynolds, passes in the corner to Demerit, but Reynolds reads the pass and gets the steal. Nesbitt puts pressure on Robinson. Robinson can't get the ball. That's another turnover for the Jamaicans. Here we see again turnovers hurting the Jamaicans, limiting their ability to get out on the break. Robinson pressing full court on Nesbitt. Nesbitt drives past her quickly, finds open space, takes the long two, and scores. She looks at Robinson and shakes her head. Almost to say, who are you? Here we see Robinson coming back. Robinson to Brian on the outside. Brian in the corner to Fairweather, who has not gotten into the game much, actually.
Yeah, which we haven't seen
Inside
much of her
pass
so far.
to Reynolds, who rushes the shot, doesn't get the
Rebounded by
finish.
Butler.
Rebounded by Butler, brought up the court down the right wing by Nesbitt. Nesbitt drives on Robinson, beats Robinson again. Beautiful move by Nesbitt for the finish. Nesbitt
Looking red hot here in this second quarter.
Nesbitt stamps in the paint and flexes, letting everyone know whose floor this is. Fairweather swings it across to Dixon. Dixon to Brian. Brian pressured by Neely.
That
Neely
looked like a
travel
right
on
here.
Brian.
Too many steps.
That's another turnover for the Jamaicans.
And what we've been seeing is that the Bahamians have been converting on these turnovers, making them pay.
Yep, the last two turnovers have both ended in buckets for the Bahamian team, and now we see the fruits of that with the Bahamian lead ballooning to 10. 41-31. Timeout called by the Jamaicans again. 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Timeout by the Bahamians, my apologies. 3 minutes and 52 seconds left in the first half.
The Jamaica team needs to find something that would work for them against the Bahamian team, who's been very dominant on the floor so far.
Yeah, we're seeing the adjustment made by the Bahamian team, the scoring being distributed, the defensive effort all across the board, taking care of the basketball and pressuring the Jamaicans, taking advantage of their missed opportunities as well as their turnovers. I think there's a few other players we need to acknowledge tonight. Demerit being one of them, her off-the-ball movement as well as her defensive effort has been crucial for the Bahamian team so far. Butler as well. We've seen Butler getting some nice buckets, smart moves, smart plays.
Some offensive rebounds.
Offensive rebounds. And although she hasn't been getting as many rebounds on the defensive end, boxing out Brian and Reynolds has been crucial for getting the ball to Nesbitt and Higgs on the break. I think two of the rebounds actually we saw from Nesbitt were the fruit of Butler boxing out the big player for Jamaica.
So this is shaping up to be a very exciting game so far, with Bahamas leading the charge. As we see the ball inbounded to Nesbitt.
Full court press on Nesbitt. Nesbitt beats two Jamaican players, finds herself in some space. She drives, puts it up, and gets the layup.
There.
My goodness, I expected
I think
her
there were
to.
a bit of contact there too.
Yeah, there was a bit of contact, but she managed to finish. I also thought that she was going to pass, but she just beat the entire Jamaican defense to score.
Robinson wide open, in and out.
Rebounded by Nesbitt. Nesbitt up the floor to Higgs. Pass is short, stolen by Dixon.
As we see Fairweather pass to Reynolds.
Reynolds inside. Stolen by Higgs. Another turnover for the Jamaicans.
Let's see if it hurts them.
Nesbitt faces up against Reynolds at half court. Beats Reynolds. Pulls up, passes to Neely. Neely for the long two. Gets it to fall.
Get the roll. Get the friendly roll.
There we see again, Bahamians getting everybody involved in the game. Reynolds drives, throws it up. Neely went straight up. No foul. Another missed opportunity by the Jamaicans. I'm not sure if Reynolds underestimated Neely's size there. Tried to drive straight into her and bounced off.
I think she did. Strong contact there by Neely.
Very responsible defense by Neely by staying straight up and keeping her feet set so that the ref can't call blocking foul.
As we see Nesbitt check out of the game.
Yeah, Demerit and Higgs seem to be the primary ball handlers. Forbes back in the game. Beautiful elbow jumper by Higgs. Taking the score to 47 for the Bahamians. Ball into Brian. Brian gets wrapped up by Butler. Butler back. The ball goes back out to Fairweather. Robinson in the corner. Corner three. Doesn't get it to fall. Recovered by Demerit. Demerit brings the ball up the floor. Passes into Forbes. Forbes pump fakes. Passes in the corner to Higgs. Higgs on the immediate pressure by Dixon. Pick set by Forbes.
Oh, good move.
Good move by Higgs.
That would have
Doesn't
been
get
a
it to
really
fall,
good
but
finish.
it's recovered by.
Strong contact there from Wild Goose.
But that counts as an offensive foul. I think that's because she led with the forearm, pushing.
Yeah, she had a bit of elbow there.
Yeah, pushing Reynolds down. That's an offensive foul. Yep, here we see the replay.
Yes.
Yep,
a
led
bit of elbow.
with the forearm and elbowed Reynolds there.
Good call from the ref again.
The Jamaicans looking to get some momentum going at the end of this first half. So far, the Bahamians have been all over them.
Yeah, the Bahamians have been very dominant in this quarter so far.
If we do a quick turnover check, the Bahamians have 7 turnovers to Jamaica's 12. Another turnover by the Jamaicans, make that number 13. Nesbitt brings the ball up, face up against Reynolds. Dixon applies pressure, saves the ball, gets it into Reynolds. Reynolds driving directly back at Nesbitt. Very bad pass by Reynolds.
Turnover again for Jamaica.
I think Reynolds expected Dixon to make the run to the basket. Instead, Dixon ran to the corner, and the pass was in that space, going to no one.
Lack of a bit of chemistry there.
Yeah, maybe chemistry, maybe communication. Sorry. Missed by the Bahamas, recovered by Jamaica. Ball kicked to Reynolds on the wing. Fairweather, back out to Reynolds. Reynolds across the court to Dixon. Dixon
Good hands
stripped
here by Nesbitt.
by Nesbitt.
Nesbitt looked to drive. Kicks to Demerit.
Demerit long, recovered by Forbes. Forbes back up top to Nesbitt. Nesbitt faced up against Reynolds. Reynolds tries to tip it loose.
Gotta put it up.
Put up by Wild Goose, but the ball doesn't fall. Ball on the wing by Dixon. Dixon faced up against Forbes. Forbes. Dixon passes into Brian. Brian passes to Robinson. Robinson drives, passes to Reynolds, gets it back and scores.
That's Robinson there with a good jumper for 2.
Good give and go by Robinson. Passing, relocating, getting the elbow jumper. Here we see Reynolds applying pressure on Nesbitt again. Nesbitt beats her. Nesbitt gets the foul before the buzzer.
Nesbitt has been very active so far in this quarter.
Yeah, on both ends of the floor. We saw her getting the steal a couple of minutes ago, a couple of seconds ago, or a couple of plays ago. And now driving to draw the foul before the end of the first half. That's a trip to the line for her. 2 free throws with an opportunity to extend the Bahamas lead.
For the latest news, statistics, and highlights from today's games, visit FIBA.com.
If you want to keep up to date with the play-by-play stats and lots more information, be sure to check out FIBA.basketball, Caribbean Women's Championship, and you'll see all the information, stats, and updates for these games.
As we await these 2 free throws from Nesbitt.
Yeah, we see the refs looking at the replay. We're awaiting their deliberation after viewing the replay.
Is it for some contact?
But as we wait for the refs' deliberation, I think the Jamaicans have been caught off guard by the effort and energy by the Bahamian team. I think we have to also give credit to the Bahamian coach, because not only has his team come out with great energy, he's also managed to rotate and get effective usage of all the players that have come in. We see Forbes, Demerit, Wild Goose, and even Forbes, Demerit, Wild Goose, and even Brannon and Butler getting involved in the game very early.
Yeah, definitely. That is something we haven't seen in the first 2 games from the Bahamians. getting more players involved apart from Higgs and Nesbitt?
Yeah, I think it eases the pressure on Higgs and Nesbitt to score, but it also puts pressure on the opposing defense because now you have more players to pay attention to. One of the big shifts we saw after that in this second quarter was the Jamaicans switching to a man defense. The zone wasn't working, and the Bahamians were getting a lot of open shots, and they were knocking down the majority of them. So they switched to a man defense in an attempt to limit Higgs and Nesbitt, but that hasn't stopped them. Higgs and Nesbitt are good individual players with good handling ability. They've been able to beat the press, beat their defender, and get to the rim, drawing fouls and trips, earning trips to the line.
Yes, and the key for Bahamas so far is that they've been able to convert these turnovers into points, which has given them a reasonable size lead in the second quarter.
Yeah, so far, if we do a turnover check, it's 15 turnovers for the Jamaicans. Here we see Nesbitt draining both free throws, taking the lead to 16 for the Bahamians. Ball launched up the floor by Dixon, but time runs out. End of the first half, ladies and gentlemen. The score is 49 Bahamas, Jamaica 33.
I think Jamaica need to find a way to get fair weather in the game. She just seems to be out of it so far. Not taking those shots we saw her took in the first game. Not being as active, both on the defensive and offensive end.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at her performance in the first game, comparing what she was able to do in the first game, she's been completely quiet. Just 6 points, and 6 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 turnovers. If you look at her plus minus, she's minus 17 right now. In fact, you can argue that she's perhaps the most passive player on the Jamaica team. We're seeing effort from Reynolds, although she has a worse plus minus at the moment. We're seeing lots of effort and involvement from Reynolds. I don't think we've called Fayeweather's name as much as a lot of the other players. So I think a key for Jamaica is going to be getting her back into the game, like you said. I think getting Reynolds more into the game as well. And I have to stress it, taking care of the basketball.
Yeah,
at halftime, 15 turnovers is way too many. And
Definitely.
we see what those turnovers turned into for the Bahamas.
On the other hand, Bahamas seems to be moving forward very quickly. Taking a charge to Jamaica. Again, it goes back to the point of view saying that they need to get more players involved on the offensive end. And if we check the scorecard so far, yes, we could see that they have done that quite well in the second quarter, with majority of the players getting on the board, scoring points.
Correct. And something else I want to point out for the Jamaican team is that for the first time in the tournament, it looks like they're being beaten on the boards. The Bahamians have 25 rebounds, with 17 of them being defensive rebounds, compared to Jamaica's 13.
So that's a big point right there.
Yeah, the Bahamians are dominating on the glass. They're taking care of the ball better, and
They're forcing turnovers.
they're forcing
They're
turnovers.
converting those turnovers into points.
Yeah, so I think those are the points the Jamaican coach is going to have to look back at. However, we are seeing players like Robinson on the Jamaican side find some form and make some shots. We're also seeing her effort on the defensive end.
Yeah, she seems to be playing with good energy in the first half so far. Robinson, that is.
Yeah, so I think she's going to be crucial for the Jamaica team, but it's also going to be getting Reynolds back into the game offensively as well as Fairweather. Without them, they're going to be in some trouble. Those are actually the two players I highlighted at the start of the game as important players on the offensive end.
I think what is important for Bahamas too is to come out back in the second half with the same energy, same tempo, same active hands, forcing turnovers, converting those turnovers, and trying to get as much players involved as they did in the first half.
Correct. I think that's the tail of the tape for the first half and the preview for the second. We're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen, and see you guys in 10 minutes.
Before we continue, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our sponsors and partners who've made this year's National Women's Rugby Championship possible. Big thank you to the Ministry of Culture and Sport, the Guyana Olympic Association, and the Guyana Basketball Federation, along with our valued partners, Victoria Green, Guyana, Green Logistics, and CNET, Scottish Smokehouse, and Sports, Ad Nation, Mighty Graphics, Palm Sports, and Love You Rock.
One more cake.
All right, ladies and gents, this is Omari Joseph back for the start of the second half. Ball stolen there by Neely under the basket, taken away from the Jamaican number 12. Kicked in the corner to Higgs. Higgs fouled as she swings it up to the Merit. That's a foul on the floor, so the ball will be played inbounds.
For the latest news, statistics, and highlights from today's game, visit FIBA.basketball.
Nesbitt into Higgs. Higgs with the floater. Floater too long. Stolen by Higgs. Recovered by Nesbitt. Nesbitt takes it up. Goes around the screen by Neely. Kicked to Butler. Butler finds the merit for the long two. Gets the friendly bounce.
I have to stress on the point again of the Bahamas team coming out with the same energy as they did in the first half to maintain this lead.
There we see a foul on Robinson. Foul committed against Robinson. Looks like the foul is going to go on Neely. And Robinson being the only one pushing the envelope and asking the hard questions to the Bahamian defense on the Jamaican
very
side.
active so far in the game. Look to drive the ball every time she gets the opportunity. And we see her earn herself a trip to the line.
Yes, sir. Hopefully she can capitalize because the Bahamian lead is ballooned to 18. Switches the first.
Nesbitt look to push the ball up to Higgs.
Yes, Nesbitt push it up the wing to Higgs. Gets it back at the top of the arc. Marked hard by Robinson. Robinson switches back on to Nesbitt. Passes to the Merritt. The Merritt loses the ball on the baseline. Brought up the floor by Fairweather. Fairweather in the corner to Robinson. Robinson swings it all the way across to Reynolds. Back to the top to Dixon. Dixon with an open three. Doesn't get it to fall. Rebound by Higgs.
Those are the shots Jamaica would want to fall. A wide open three there for Dixon.
Screen set by Neely. Neely doesn't roll effectively, unfortunately. So the pass in by Higgs was based on where she should have been. And that leads to a turnover. Recovered by Fairweather. Fairweather kicks it to Brian. Brian heads into the paint after receiving the pass. Long three by Dixon. Doesn't get it to fall. I think it may be a little ill-advised for Jamaica to be taking these threes, given the fact that not only they aren't falling, but they're leading to breaks for the Bahamian team. The misses are leading to breaks.
As Higgs looks to drive.
Higgs getting called for the travel. That's two quick turnovers for the Bahamas team on back-to-back possessions. Neely checks out of the game. Brannon checks back in. That's
a timeout call there.
A timeout call there. Yeah, timeout called by the Bahamas. The score is 35-51. I think the coach wants to take some time to talk to the team. They've come out with good energy, but I think their decision making has been maybe a bit questionable at the start of the half. The coach just wants them to regain composure and get back into the game.
Yeah, what we see in the first couple of plays there for Bahamas is that they haven't been moving the ball as much as they did in the first quarter, in the first half. Not much off the ball movement also. So I think that the timeout was called just to make sure that they stick to what they've been doing in the first half.
Indeed, I'm hopefully we see that adjustment. Of course, we'll look out for it coming out to the timeout. As for the Jamaicans, I actually think that they've come out with more of the same from the first half. I haven't seen a major adjustment, especially on the offensive end. And their slight inroad back into the game has mostly been by Bahamian negligence. I think the coach is going to have to remind them that they're going to need to take care of the ball. Again, we see issues with that, as well as taking these long threes. Long threes very often lead to long rebounds because the ball's shot with a fair amount of force. If it hits off the iron, it's going to bounce a long way away, leading to an open break. And we saw two of those very early in the game.
I think what Jamaica needs to do is try to get their key players involved in this game very quickly. Trying to get them doing some scoring. And work your way back into this game.
Yeah, I think that has to be Fairweather and Reynolds. Fairweather and Reynolds need to get some more easy shots so that they can get those points on the board. Good rebound by Brian, blocked by Butler. Butler couldn't stop the recovery though. Brian, with her tenacity, manages to catch her own rebound and
Good
put the
work
ball up.
under the ring there by Brian.
Seems to be a crowd heavily supporting Jamaica. Crowd chanting defense as the Jamaicans are in defense.
Nesbitt
Shot-
with a long three.
Shot clock down to 7. Nesbitt with a long three. Beautiful rebound by Braynon, but Braynon loses it. Brian swipes the ball out of her hands. Pass into Brian on the fast break. Brian goes for the rebound. Doesn't get the finish. Stolen by Higgs. Higgs takes it up the left wing.
I'm not sure about that pass by Reynolds there.
Yeah, I'm not sure about...
Looked like she had an open ring there.
That was Robinson, I believe, actually. And indeed, she did have an open... She did have an open ring, but decided to make the pass to Brian. And unfortunately, Brian wasn't ready for the pass and didn't finish.
And that's a foul by Brian on the floor there against Higgs.
Yeah, Brian is arguing that she was fouled prior to the hit on Higgs. Jamaica calls a timeout. We see, although Jamaica scored 2 points, their defense is in disarray, and I think that's why the coach called a timeout for the team to regroup.
Yeah, definitely. Jamaica hasn't made much changes from we saw them in the first half. Still not getting key players involved. Still not scoring those points as often as they should to get back into this game.
Yeah, I think the message from the Jamaica coach in the timeout is going to be for the team to calm down and settle down. The Bahamians are still haven't fixed the mistakes they've been making coming into this third quarter, and Jamaica is getting good opportunities. They're just not capitalizing on them. I think if they're able to compose themselves, get their half-court offense set, run a few plays and get some buckets, they're going to build that momentum to get back into the game. As for the Bahamians, they also need to settle down. But I think that settling has to come on the offensive end for the Bahamians. As you mentioned just a few minutes ago, the ball movement. They need to bring back that ball movement and off the ball movement that they had in the first half. Without it, the Jamaican defense is going to be able to read them very easily and be able to capitalize on the break.
So let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens after that timeout. The ball inbounded by Higgs. Higgs to Braynon. Braynon kicks it back to Higgs. Nesbitt sets a pick. Pass into Braynon, but Braynon loses it to Dixon. Dixon drives up center court, passes to Reynolds. Reynolds in the corner to Robinson. Robinson drives, passes to Brian. Beautiful layup by Brian. Good ball movement.
That's a very good play there by Jamaica.
Yep.
Again, we see Robinson driving and kicking it to Brian for easy two.
Demerit under pressure from Brian. Passes to Braynon. Passes to Butler, Butler into Higgs. Higgs spins. Loses the ball to Nesbitt. Nesbitt puts it up. Doesn't get it to go. But the ball is tipped out of bounds by the Jamaicans. Possession stays with the Bahamas. Here we see Wild Goose checking into the game for Butler.
What we see from that last play there by Jamaica, good ball movement, leads to easy 2 point. I think they need to do a bit more of that on the offensive end.
Definitely on the offensive end, good ball movement. If they are able to keep that going, then they'll be able to capitalize. Looks like Jamaica's going for a small ball lineup by sending in the number 15, Livingston. Looks like they want to keep the pace up and play on the break. Because I'm seeing 3 of their quickest players on the team, Robinson, Dixon, and Reynolds, all on the floor. The biggest player on the floor for Jamaica right now is actually Fairweather. Ball in Demerit's hands. Demerit drives, loses it. Still Bahamas ball, but only 4.6 seconds left on the clock. They're going to have to get a shot off quickly. Oh no. After the refs converse, it appears that the ball was off a Bahamian player, so possession goes to Jamaica, inbounded by Reynolds to Dixon. Here we see Reynolds at center court. Reynolds gets it, but Robinson gets it. Robinson passes it to Livingston. Livingston loses it. Demerit passes inside to Higgs. Higgs to Braynon. Braynon gets the layup on the break. There we see a turnover leading to quick points on the break for the Bahamians. Jamaicans once again need to mind it and take care of the basketball.
Yeah, the Bahamians
Fair weather to
converting on these turnovers pretty easily.
fair weather to Robinson. Robinson takes the running jumper but loses it. Recovered by Wild Goose. Wild Goose kicks it to Nesbitt. Nesbitt drives. Goes for the 2 in the lane. Tipped out. Tipped out by Brennan, but recovered by the Jamaicans. Dixon drives up court, being pressed full court by Nesbitt. Reynolds drives, spins, has nowhere to go, kicks out to Dixon. Dixon takes the 3. Long, recovered by Wild Goose. Wild Goose to Demerit. Demerit to Nesbitt. Nesbitt spins and beats 2 Jamaican defenders, but loses the ball on the drive. She's a bit slow to get up there. Robinson is coming straight down the floor. Passes it to Reynolds. Reynolds gets a clean block.
That's a good block there.
Clean running block by Brennan there. That is the defensive effort we've been talking about from the Bahamian team, and we're seeing it. Nesbitt pressing high. Demerit keep staying with her player. And then here we see Brennan recovering to block that attempt by Reynolds.
Yeah, there will not be any easy points for Jamaica tonight. They will have to work for their points, as we see the Bahamian defense being very strict, not allowing them to do as they like.
Yes, although the Jamaicans have been able to cut into the lead, they haven't been able to capitalize on several possessions thanks to that Bahamian defense. So that defense is actually giving the Bahamian offense time to recover and think about where things can go.
That's
we see
a nasty
Neely.
one there.
Yeah, we see Neely dove for the loose ball, but she landed on
ankle.
Yes, she landed on Brian's left ankle. However, Brian is walking it off quite confidently. So even though she's wincing in pain, I think she'll be able to continue. Her coach asked her if she's okay, and yeah, she's.
That's a lot of pressure on the ankle there.
Yeah, she's trotting back. Appears that her and Neely are okay. They both look at each other.
I think you got some spots on the floor there.
Yeah, we got some wet spots on the floor. The ref paused the inbounds to get those cleaned up. All right, ball inbounded by Reynolds to Dixon. Dixon back to Reynolds in the corner. Higgs reads the pass, but Dixon manages to secure it. Robinson passes inside to Brian, who tries to do
a turnover there.
Yep.
As Nesbitt drives the ball up the court.
Nesbitt tries to pass it over to Neely, but Brian gets in the way. Off of Neely, possession goes back to Jamaica. I want to point out on that last play where Brian tried to do a touch pass, but she had no awareness of where her defender was. The defender was actually waiting for her to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
If she had known where her defender was, she would have been able to take a bounce and actually turn and finish. Higgs drives, puts it up, gets the score.
Higgs there, getting straight to the rack for easy 2.
And here we see the Bahamian offense getting back into the game. Brian feeds it into Dixon. Dixon to Livingston. Livingston back into Reynolds. Reynolds gets fouled from behind by Roll. That's going to be a trip to the line for 2 by Reynolds. Good move by Reynolds. And good pass by Livingston. Livingston drives and found. Yep, there we see Livingston. Livingston drove and did a nice scoop pass to Reynolds, who drew the foul.
Brilliant pass there from Livingston to send Reynolds to the line for 2 free throws.
Once again, I want to point out, we see Wild Goose in for Wild Goose in while Butler sits on the bench, and Wild Goose has been able to continue the effort on both the offensive and defensive glass. It seems that tonight, all the Bahamians have come to play.
They look way settled in. Apart from the first 2 games, they look much better here tonight. Getting all the players involved.
Yeah, I think the only 2 players not to check in so far for the Bahamas are Makaya Tucker and Tatiana Lockhart. But every other player that has checked in has had some level of involvement in the game.
Long pass pick there by Brian.
Yeah, long pass to roll. Ill-advised attempt, you might say. Picked off. The Jamaicans regain
Robinson with a
possession.
jumper.
Robinson scores.
That's a good jumper from Robinson. She's been playing with a high energy all night.
Yeah, all night with no signs of slowing down. Here we see her pressing high up the court. They try to trap. They try to trap Nesbitt. Nesbitt gets it to roll. Roll passes it into Wild Goose. Wild Goose takes too long to finish and gets blocked from behind by Brian. Brian passes it to Reynolds. Reynolds to Robinson. Robinson drives it up. The ball ends up back up top with Dixon. Dixon tries to pass it. Robinson tries to pass it inside. Here's Higgs on the fast break. Delays the layup.
That's a
and
good
gets the
play by
finish.
Higgs there. Just allowing the defender to blow by. The conversion of 2 points. As we see another turnover there from Jamaica. Nesbitt bring the ball up, looking to drive straight to the ring. Oh, good scoop lay up there from Nesbitt.
Gets the finish.
Good pace there. Not allowing the Jamaica defense to settle.
Yeah, we see that from both Higgs and Nesbitt. They find the gaps, they're able to beat the trap and get straight to the basket. Reynolds drives, gets fouled.
Here. Good fake by Reynolds and getting straight to the rack there to draw that foul.
Yeah, Wild Goose tried to put her hands up after that drive, but it's quite clear she had her hands in the cookie jar.
Caught red-handed there.
Nonetheless, despite this intense back and forth, the Bahamian lead is still 17 points, but we have Reynolds here with an opportunity to cut that lead to 15 with 2 minutes and 1 second left in the third quarter. Yep, here we see the drive. We see it. We see Wild Goose attempting to get the ball, but she gets hands and then raises her hands as if she did nothing.
The ref was on point there.
And as I said, that's something I want to point out throughout the tournament. We've seen very consistent calling from the refs, even though some coaches might call it soft. We actually saw a little bit of that in the first game. Coaches wondering if the ref is going to call everything. The answer appears to be yes, but at least it's consistent. You see a foul here, foul committed against Roll, which leads to an inbounds for the Bahamas.
Yeah, we see number 10, Brown, checked in there for the Jamaica team.
Yeah, Brown checking in for what appears to be the first time. Nesbitt gets the ball inside out dribble to beat Reynolds. She's 3 defenders on Nesbitt in the corner. Ball kicked to Demeritte. Demeritte takes a dribble, kicks it back out to Nesbitt. Nesbitt to Higgs. Higgs beats Reynolds with 1 dribble. Back up to Nesbitt. Nesbitt inside to Brainen. Brainen.
Again, we see the ball movement in that play.
Looks like an offensive foul there by Brainen before the catch by pushing off her defender. I think that defender was Fairweather.
But brilliant ball movement by Bahamas once again.
Yeah, brilliant ball movement by Bahamas. I don't think Brainen needed to commit that foul. She had the defender on her hip. All she needed to do was hold her position. Here we see Higgs picking off the inside pass.
That's a foul call there.
Yeah, another foul committed by the Jamaicans. I think that inside pass is something the Jamaicans have attempted multiple times in this third quarter. The Bahamians are now starting to read it, and for the second play in a row, it's been cut off.
Yeah, definitely. As we see Nesbitt bring the ball up the court here for the Bahamians. Corner pocket pass.
Demeritte misses.
There.
Rebounded by Roll. Roll back to Demeritte. Demeritte with a long 2. The 2 in the lane. Off. Brainen recovers and gets the putback.
The effort on the board for the Bahamians has been really good tonight. Getting their third chance at that play.
Yes, let's do some stat checks. Ball, long rebound recovered by Demeritte. Demeritte passes it up floor to Higgs. Higgs holds it back. Good hesitation.
Bucket by Higgs.
Good hesitation, good finish.
Allowing Fairweather to just blow by.
So let's do a quick stat check. It's 24 turnovers by the Jamaicans to Bahamas 18.
And that's a turnover again. Higgs looking to drive straight to the rack. Good finish again from Higgs.
Yeah, make that 25 turnovers by the Jamaicans. And another 2 points on the break off turnovers for the Bahamians.
They're not controlling the ball here, the Jamaica team. Too many turnovers.
Yeah, we also have the Jamaicans being dominated on the glass. The Bahamians have twice as many rebounds as the Jamaicans, 40-20. Another turnover. Passed up the floor to
Higgs
Higgs.
with a free break again. That's another 2 points. Too easy for Higgs right now.
6 straight points off turnovers to end the third quarter. The lead now balloons to 25 points, 67-42. The Bahamians had a dominant finish to the third quarter after a slow start. They're imposing themselves on the game. We're seeing now Nesbitt and Higgs starting to take back over the scoring, and the Jamaicans have yet to find an answer for them.
What we see here is the Bahamas team sticking to what they've been doing in the first half of this game. Good ball movement, quick hands in the defense, leading to turnovers. And the key thing there is that they're converting these turnovers into points. So they're sticking to the guns here, the Bahamian team.
Definitely, and I'm a little concerned at the Jamaican team's inability to manage the turnovers, because what I've noticed about a lot of the Jamaican turnovers, it's especially coming down to the end of this third quarter, several of those turnovers were due to predictability of their offense. The Bahamians were able to predict that they're going to make that inside pass, and they were ready for it. And the player on the inside, instead of maybe shifting, moving a bit, or trying to get in better position, just decided to stand right there and wait for the ball to come to them.
Yeah, so on the opposite end, while the Bahamians are moving off the ball and getting the players open, the Jamaica team seem to just be stagnant, not moving enough, not creating those plays, not having players open to take free shots. They're trying to force the ball and leading to a lot of turnovers so far in this quarter.
Certainly. And the turnovers, like I said, are going to be an Achilles heel for any team in this tournament. We saw it affect the Surinamese, we saw it affect the Guyanese, and now we're seeing it affect the Jamaicans. I think the Virgin Islands also had a fair number of turnovers, but between them and the Bahamians, they've been able to take care of the ball a lot better than many of the teams in the tournament. And it's no surprise that the teams that have been taking care of the ball have been getting the better results. Because simply put, a team can't score if they don't have possession of the ball.
That's true.
Nice crossover by Nesbitt, but she forgot. She left the ball behind, and it rolls out of bounds. That's a turnover by the Bahamas. Ball for Jamaica. Here we see Reynolds bringing the ball up center court, trying to set the offense, calling the play. The Bahamians are in a 2-3 zone right now. Open shot by Reynolds. Doesn't get it to drop. Nice box out and the rebound by Roll. Roll passes to Nesbitt on the left wing. Nesbitt brings it up the floor. Stops after the drive. Crosses over. Pulls up for two. Doesn't hit. Recovered by Brian.
Robinson here. Robinson looking to drive straight to the rack. Pass to Fairweather. Fairweather to Brian. Dixon at the top of the key. And we have an off-the-ball foul here.
Yeah, off-the-ball foul committed against Reynolds. Looks like that foul is on Demerit.
Again, we haven't, in this quarter so far, Jamaica hasn't been able to get their key players involved in any play.
Ball inbounded to Dixon. Dixon passes to Brian, gets it back. Ball into Reynolds. Brian sets a screen on Nesbitt. Brian rolls, gets the ball fed, but couldn't finish. That was a nice pick and roll. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the finish. I think Brian rushed her finish a bit there. She had a little bit more time than she thought.
Good screen there for open shot. Is that Higgs?
No, that's the Merit.
The Merit with a good screen there, though.
Good screen by Forbes to give the Merit an open shot. The defense couldn't recover, and the Merit swishes it. Loving the Merit's shot making in the game so far. Off the ball fall by Brannon on Fairweather.
So Fairweather is in the game, but not in the game right now.
Yeah, she's present, but not active, it appears. we haven't called her name for much on the offensive or the defensive end.
She's just having a half night so far.
Fairweather gets the ball on the inside, puts it up, gets a point. She trips on her own legs after flexing, but at least she got the finish. Nesbitt takes full advantage of the player down and tries to pass into Brannon, but the ball is tipped away and heads out of bounds. Possession stays with the Bahamas.
Nesbitt is going to inbound the ball.
Nesbitt out to the Merritt with a long two. Swish again.
The Merritt with the hit check. Back-to-back mid-range jumpers.
Reynolds drives, kicks to
The coach.
the coach. I'm sorry, but coaches are coaches because they don't play. She kicks to the Bahamian coach, actually. The Bahamian coach is wearing white. Maybe she saw the white and thought that he was a player. But that's another turnover for the Jamaicans.
Yep. Just racking up these turnovers so far in this game, the Jamaica team. Nesbitt seems to be in good spirit though. She's not playing a wonderful game tonight.
Yeah, I'm seeing her having a much better disposition than she did on the first night. I'm also seeing her get involved in the game in more ways than one. She's got 8 rebounds and 9 assists so far for the game. Her turnover numbers are a bit high with 10, but she's made up for it with 6 steals. Here we see a shot by Demerit again.
With that mid-range jumper. Like a silent killer there, Demerit. Long three from Fairweather. That's off.
Recovered by Reynolds. Reynolds back out to Fairweather. Fairweather takes the bounce, passes back to Reynolds. Reynolds tries to drive on 2. Forbes stops the drive. Fairweather to Brian. Brian with the long 2. Doesn't get it to fall. Recovered by Nesbitt. Nesbitt to Forbes. Forbes takes the ball up court. There's only 3 Jamaican defenders down there. Demerit to Brannon. Brannon drives. Goes up. Gets it off the side. Recovered by Forbes. Forbes couldn't finish. Loose ball. Loose ball recovered by
Forbes. Good fight there by Forbes, not to give up on the play.
Yeah, even after losing the ball, we see Forbes fighting for it. It was a loose ball. Roll also joined the melee for the ball. Looks like a foul was called. The ball stays with the Bahamas.
It just shows you the amount of hard the Bahamians have been playing with tonight. Fighting to the end on every play. As they regain possession of the ball.
Yeah, they regained possession of the ball. It appears that a foul was called on one of the Jamaican players. Likely Brian, because she was the only one involved in that loose ball play other than the Bahamians. Ball out to Roll. Roll takes the long 2. Overcooks it. Air ball recovered by Livingston. Here we see Dixon bringing the ball up the floor. Passes it to Robinson. I think the Jamaicans are going to want to see Robinson get herself back into the game. Turnaround jumper.
And here comes Fairweather now.
Yes,
She's getting on the board a lot more here in this quarter.
Here's the Bahamian destroyer, the Merit.
Good hands by Robinson there.
Stolen by
Up to
Robinson.
Livingston. Livingston with an easy layup.
She misses. Recovered by Roll. There's only 3 defenders down for the Jamaicans. Nesbitt tries to capitalize but loses the ball. Here we see Forbes again not giving up on the play and stealing the ball back from Fairweather. The Merit for the long 2. Swish.
Again. Nothing but net from the Merit with that mid-range jumper.
The Merit is 4 for 4 from the mid-range. Long 3 by Fairweather. Doesn't get it to fall. Rebounded by Brannon.
The Merit is a hot hands in this quarter so far.
Beautiful inside pass by Nesbitt. Forbes draws 3 defenders, makes the smart pass out to Roll. Doesn't get the shot to fall, but gets the ball out to another player. They don't manage to capitalize on the possession, so here comes Fairweather up the floor for Jamaica. Fairweather makes a nice inside pass.
Active in this quarter with a good pass to Robinson.
Great back cut by Robinson.
Who draw the foul and head to the line for 2.
Yep, great back cut by Robinson. Great vision by fair weather to find her.
She seems to be a lot more active in this quarter so far.
Yeah, fair weather's woken up in this fourth quarter.
Creating some plays, getting some buckets.
And Robinson back on the floor is a welcome sight for the Jamaicans. Her energy is not only infectious, but
As we see a foul there. Is it on Butler?
it looks like that foul was on Butler. Foul on the floor, so the ball is inbounded by Team Jamaica.
Nearly another turnover there as we see Higgs pick it.
So it is a turnover. Higgs drives, is denied by Brian. She slows it down. Drives again on Brian. That's a foul on Brian. Feet moving. And the contact on Higgs is called by...
The turnovers continue to hurt Jamaica even in this quarter.
Yeah, the turnovers are preventing Jamaica from... The turnovers are giving extra possessions to the Bahamian team, and we're seeing time and time again the Bahamians are able to capitalize on that turnover. Long inbounds to Forbes. Forbes drives all the way around, goes to the rim, doesn't get the finish. Roll doesn't corral the rebound. It's gotten by Brian. Brian passes to Robinson. Robinson drives straight down the middle. Doesn't get the finish. Demerit with the long pass. Tipped away by Brian. Brian doesn't get the control though. Roll is able to collect it, pass it to Forbes, who doesn't get the finish but draws another foul on Brian.
The Bahamians have been able to keep the pace up right through this game. Not letting anything go. As we see Forbes convert the first free throw here.
Yeah, it looks like that was Brian's third foul. This late in the game, I don't think she has to worry too much about fouls, but Forbes ears the second free throw. Lead is 30, and at this point, I think it's safe to say the Jamaicans are out of the game. Unless we see a big score in flurry in these last 5 minutes, I think it's all about game management now for Team Bahamas.
Yeah.
We see Nesbitt out of the game, actually. So it's clear that the Bahamians are in management mode. Here we see Higgs off the steal. Passes to the Merit. Yet another jumper. Oh my goodness.
He's hitting it.
It seems every time we call the Merit, it's swish.
Yes. Nothing but net on those jumpers for the Merit.
Valerie the Merit has been Valerie the mid-range in this fourth quarter.
The pass inside to Brian. Good
Stole
steal
by,
there.
good steal by Higgs.
Again, quick hands.
She passes to Butler. Butler drives, goes up. Good block by Brian. Good steal by Robinson. Robinson gets control of the ball, drives. Demerit plays defense. Robinson slips, falls, loses the ball.
Looks like she's in some pain there, holding her ankle. Not a good sign.
I don't think the ref calls a foul there. They just call for the floor.
It's just a slip.
Yeah, just a slip. Okay, Robinson is able to get up and walk under her own power, so that's a good sign. We don't want to see athletes getting injured in this competition. Good to see she's back. Yeah, we see the drive there. And yep, we see the slip. We see the slip.
She's been high energy so far in this game.
So I think the Jamaicans are even happier than I am to see that she's still healthy and active.
Ball in bong to Dixon.
Dixon feeds it back into Reynolds. Reynolds into Brian. Brian gets the easy two.
Play.
Nesbitt checks back into the game. So now we have Nesbitt, Higgs, and Demerit. Demerit gets the ball for open three. Another swish. My goodness.
In this fourth quarter, she's smiling, heading down back to defend.
Demerit is on a mission.
Yes, she is. Dominant shooting from Demerit so far in this fourth quarter.
Demerit is playing like a woman possessed. There we see Reynolds driving, drawing the foul, and earning herself a trip to the line.
Again, it goes back to the point we've been making about Bahamas trying to get all their players involved in this game tonight.
So, if you look at Higgs' shooting percentages, Higgs is shooting 50% from the field and 56% from two. But those percentages pale in comparison to what Valicia Demerit is doing tonight. 10 for 15 from the field, that's 66.6%. And then 9 of 13 from 2, 1 or 2 from 3. It doesn't seem to matter where she's shooting from. It's nothing but buckets.
Shooting from Demerit so far tonight.
Shot by Nesbitt. She doesn't get the finish, but easy rebound by Butler.
Easy 2-point conversion for Butler there.
Yeah, there we see Jamaica getting dominated on the boards again, leading to points for the Bahamians.
Defense just seemed to switch off there.
Brian, they swing it to Robinson. Robinson puts up the 3. It's long, off back iron. Tipped by Higgs to Demerit. Demerit drives up the floor. Stolen by Dixon. Lovely active hands by her, not giving up on the play and capitalizing on the lack of awareness by Demerit.
Good energy by Dixon there as she gets the ball now.
Dixon to Robinson.
Robinson looks to drive. Nice floater.
Doesn't get the finish. Rebounded by Brennan.
Nesbitt bring the ball up the court for the Bahamians here.
Beats Robinson quite easily. Does an inside-out dribble. Kicks it in the corner to Demerit. Another swish.
On ball as she scores again.
My goodness.
The hot hands right now for the Bahamians. Demerit dominating that mid-range jumper.
I think the D in Demerit is for dominant and the M is for money. Because
Definitely.
whenever she gets that ball,
Hicks pushes up the court. Long pass.
Picked
Good
off by
interception there
Hickson.
by Dixon. The talk for the fourth quarter is Demerit. She's been dominant. Every time she touches the ball, it's nothing but net.
yes, it's been absolutely incredible to see. I'm just looking at her performance so far, and it's amazing. This is one of the best individual shooting performances we've seen
Definitely.
for the tournament. We saw great 3-point shooting from Team Guyana, especially the Ramlal sisters in Game 1. We saw good shooting as well from the Virgin Islands team, but those were primarily 2-pointers. But I don't think any mid-range performance can surpass what we're seeing from Demerit today. I think this is the mid-range performance of the tournament so far.
Yes, it is. Just pure dominancy from the mid-range by Demerit.
However, I do think she has, if we look at her shot chart, the majority of her shots have been from the right wing, and teams going forward may want to look at that if they want to try to contain her. And because even if we look at her shots as well in the previous game, it was also from similar spots.
That's our sweet spots. The right side of the court.
Yeah, she's also shown that she's proficient not only with catch and shoot, but taking that one dribble and getting a shot off. There we see Demerit preventing the ball from going out of bounds. Gets it on the left wing, passes into Wild Goose. Wild Goose takes a bounce, drives, doesn't get the finish. Ball recovered by Jamaica's number 12. Brought up the floor by Reynolds. Reynolds brings it up center court. Passes to Robinson. Robinson drives, puts it up, draws a foul. Doesn't get the finish.
Robinson's been able to do this for the entire game. Looking to drive, picking up these fouls, heading to the free throw line. She seemed to be the most active player for Jamaica tonight.
Yeah, she's been the most active player. And interestingly, she's not Jamaica's leading scorer. That honor goes to Brian. But nonetheless, Robinson's effort has to be commended. She has 12 points. I think had she had a better showing at the free throw line, like we see her miss a free throw there, she would be Jamaica's leading scorer. I also think she's guilty of missing a couple layups on the break.
But I do like the energy she brings to the Jamaica team. High energy, both on the defense and offensive end.
The energy on both sides of the ball has been crucial and very helpful for her team. She's had 1 steal, 1 block, and despite her size, she's been active on the boards as well with 3 defensive rebounds and 1 offensive rebound for the team. A little bit of everything. Unfortunately, unlike all the other members of her team, she's in the negative for plus minus. That may be in particular owing to her 5 turnovers, but nonetheless, for the Jamaican team, she's been a bright spot today. There we see the ball being bounced off of the foot by the Bahamian number 2, Kayla Bean. Seems that the coach has rinsed the starting lineup. Now we see nothing but bench players on the floor. Lockhart, Tucker, Wild Goose. Demerit being the only main scorer left on the floor for the Bahamians.
Yeah, this one is basically over, so you don't want to risk any of your star player picking up any injury in these last couple of minutes for this game.
Exactly, and it's all about game management now. Seeing Bean bring the ball up the court slowly. She's immediately pressured. I think she needs to look to pass.
And that's a back and over.
Yep.
By Bean.
Half-court, backcourt violation by Bean. She lost the ball there. She missed 2 great opportunities to pass the ball, but she had her head down dribbling. Shot by Jamaica's number 9. That is long and off the back iron. That's Kerry K. Stevenson. Pass recovered by Tucker. Tucker is in the right corner fighting off a defender. Passes it, but it's deflected out of bounds by the Jamaica number 10. That's Danae Brown.
I think Bahamas have a lot of positive to take away from this game tonight.
Yeah, well, right now we're seeing both teams' second unit on the floor. Demerit is clearly the lead of the second unit for the Bahamians. 3 scored by Bien, making up for that turnover.
And the bench goes wild.
Yeah, the Bahamian bench is loving the action here from the second unit. Looks like that was actually a long 2 by Bien. Drive in there by Johnson, drawing the foul and going to the lane. But as we just said, the Bahamian bench is loving the intensity we're seeing. And this is something you mentioned, Keon. For the entirety of the game, the Bahamians have managed to keep a high level of energy on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, something we haven't seen in the first 2 games from them. This is a great game for them so far. And the key point is them being able to get all the players, especially the players coming off the bench, involved in this game. It's a good sign for them going into the next one.
Undoubtedly.
As we see Demerit get a big welcome from the bench as she comes off.
Yep, Forbes checking in for Demerit. Ball inbounded to Forbes. Forbes brings it up the floor. Jamaican defense recovers. Bean gets the ball, feeds it inside.
Good pick by Livingston there as she looks to drive.
Forbes staying on her though. Ball fed inside to Johnson. Johnson gets wrapped up. Lockhart keeps her hands straight up. Foul drawn though.
Play by Johnson there. Fighting 3 defenders off.
Gets the finish and 1. Trip to the line to make it a 3-point play with 23.4 seconds left in the game. Here we see the replay.
Strong. 3 defenders. Still managed to get the shot off and drawing some contact there. As we get a whistle on the free throw.
Encroachment committed by one of the Bahamian players. The Johnson's gonna have to retake that free throw. We didn't get a chance to see which one of the Bahamian players encroached.
I think it was Wild Goose.
It might have been Wild Goose. Here we see Johnson retaking the free throw. Swishes it.
Convert that 3-point play there for Jamaica.
The Bahamians call timeout. The score is 87-56 with 23.4 seconds left in the game. Bahamas leads by 31. I don't think we've ever seen 31 points scored in 23 seconds. So it's safe to say that the Bahamas are going to be taking their second win of the tournament, improving their record to 2 from 3 and climbing further up the table, putting themselves in good position ahead of their final game to qualify.
Based on this performance tonight, the Bahamian team is going to be a team for watching this tournament. They show how they can score the ball. The defense has been really good tonight. The bench has been well involved in this game. They got as much players involved on the offensive end. So they're going to be a team to watch out for.
Yeah, we see all but 3 members actually of the Bahamian team scoring, with 3 players scoring over 20 points. Valerie Nesbitt, LaShawn Higgs, and of course Felicia Demerit, our top scorer for tonight. What's even more interesting is that Demerit has improved her shooting percentage from the last time we checked. This is just remarkable.
That's it in just 1 quarter.
Yeah, that's just in 1 quarter. That is the scariest part about this. We see an absolute explosion by Demerit.
Quarter.
And it's safe to say that Demerit's emergence in this game was on the cards. We saw it. We saw flashes in the 2 previous games.
Yes, we
and
did.
although the coaches of Jamaica clearly planned to limit Higgs and Nesbitt's involvement, putting attention on Nesbitt and Higgs, no one was paying it. No one was watching out for Demerit.
Yeah. And what that also creates is opportunity for the other players to get on the scoring board, in which they did.
Yeah, they certainly did. And if you look at it, the scoring has been well distributed. You see Neely, Wild Goose, Butler, Brainan, Forbes, and Bean contributing to the scoring. Now, one might look at those. There we see one of the Bahamian players, looks like Tucker, being carried out of the game. That's not a good sign. We hope that she's checked on by the physio and it's nothing serious. We'll have updates for you about Tucker's condition in a future broadcast. Second free throw missed by the Bahamas number 12, Lockhart. Lockhart scores, which means now only 2 Bahamian players haven't scored. Tucker, who checked out of the game, and Rowe. So, as I was saying, you might look at those 2, 3, and 6, and the single-digit scores and think that's not a big contribution. But when you add it all together, the Bahamian bench has contributed more than 22 points to this total.
They all add up.
That's the end of the game, folks. Bahamas with a dominant victory, 88 points to Jamaica's 56. Wonderful game we saw here today, back and forth, very competitive. Big credit to the Jamaican team for coming out with good effort. Unfortunately, their star players never really got into the game. Robinson was the only one pushing the envelope. We saw Brian as well making some effort, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it goes back to the point I was trying to make all game, that Jamaica, to get back into this game, they need to get their star players going. We didn't see any of that. We didn't see Fairweather come to the party. We didn't see Dixon come to the party. And they are the 2 key players there. Them not being able to score show how heavy this defeat was.
Yep, and as we close out, I have to say turnovers again, those were crucial for Jamaica. We're looking here at the standings. Bahamas now climbs to the top of the table with 5 points. Virgin Islands right behind them, 2 from 2 with 4. Guyana, Suriname, and Jamaica all in 3 points, but Suriname yet to register a win. We'll see Guyana in action tomorrow. We'll also see,
Which would be a very key game.
yes, it will be a key game. We'll see those teams in action tomorrow, each looking to get a win and get themselves in good position.
All in all, this was a good performance for Bahamas. Well-rounded performance. Them being able to get as much players involved in this game tonight. I'm really sure the depth that the team has.
Yes. Yeah, here from the commentary box, I'm very happy. This is something you mentioned in the previous game, a sentiment I echoed, and we're very happy to see them bringing those performances in for this game. They're definitely a team to watch for their final game, and it's going to be the same actually for everyone else. I think they've put the rest of the teams on notice. Let's look forward to the remaining games of the tournament here. I'm very happy with this prime time covering it with you. So This is Omari Joseph and Keon Blades signing out for the last time today. See you guys again tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern Time for the next round of games.